Hey, vinyl community, and welcome YouTubers from everywhere. Oh, back 7, 8 years ago, I did about a 52-minute video on Bessie Smith, and included in there, I called the History of the Blues, the true history of the blues, which has mostly been distorted, and the beginnings of the blues is just left out. So I'm including here that old video. I think you will enjoy it. I'm just going to be showing CDs in this because they're compilations. Take a watch. You'll learn a little bit about the blues that maybe you didn't already know. The blues era began shortly after the turn of the century. In 1909, the first piece of music was published that the subtitle was the Alabama Blues, where the word blues was used in that manner. Jelly Roll Morton had reported that he heard his first blues in about 1904. We could say the academic world recognized the blues era as starting in 1912. That is when the first four well-known pieces of sheet music blues were published, and so that's where a lot of the history writes about the start. The first jazz blues recording, 1917. And the Mamie Smith recording done in 1920. Bessie's recording in 1923. 1923 was the heyday of the blues era. The most pieces of sheet music published were published in the year 1923 and declined after that period. And by 1927, Bessie was back on the road trying to make a living. So in my judgment, the blues era, where the blues was one of the most popular music in America and around the world, was from about 1909 to 1926. Since the early 1960s, all of the roots of the blues, the articles, the history written have been kind of distorted. Why is that? Well, in the early 60s, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, they brought some of the old black blues guitar guys out, which was great, resuscitated some of those guys' careers. But they saw the link to rock and roll more to those guitar players, and the young academics writing books on history, they were rock and rollers, so they saw the links to the guitar players to rock and roll. And so very much of the history since then has been focused on that, which is fine, but it is obscured, if not left out, the real roots of the blues and the time when it started. So if I ask you who was one of the most important early blues guitar guys, a lot of you would say this: Robert Johnson. 2 CD box set here, his complete recordings. These were recorded generally around 1936. Robert Johnson was born in 1911. When Bessie Smith made her first recording and was setting the world on fire, Robert Johnson was only 12 years old. And so the blues era had been over by nearly 10 years when Robert Johnson made his first recording. Here's a Columbia Roots and Blues 4 CD box set. Retrospective 1925 to 1950. Well, when their retrospective starts, the blues era was almost over, and I don't see Bessie on here, nor any of the other early singers. There are a few of the later lady blues singers in here, and there's a few piano players, but primarily this series is all guitar players, which is fine, but if you got this box set, you might think this is what it is, but this was just one little part of it. Here's another 4 CD box set, The Blues, Classic Blues Singers Volume 1. I don't see a single female singer on here. These go up into the course of the later guys, Howlin' Wolf and so forth. Yeah, these people were classic blues singers, but this leaves out all of the classic blues singers that actually made blues famous and popular. Again, great music, great recordings, but just another example of the distortion in blues history caused by rock and roll. Is there any good news in this part of the story? Yes, there is. 4 CD box set, The Blues, put out from Sony by the Smithsonian Collection of Classic Blues Singers. This is a real representation of the blues era, almost from the beginning to the end. So if you have enough interest to get something, get this one. You'll get the whole story. Early on here, Blind Lemon Jefferson, of course, one of the famous guitar player blues guys, but then we have Ma Rainey, Bessie Smith, Sippy Wallace, Sarah Martin, Barbecue Bob. We have some of the jug band groups in here, Charlie Patton. Right on up, when we get down to disc 4, we got Howlin' Wolf, and then a few later we got Buddy Guy, Lightning Slim, Otis Rush, Ray Charles. So you get the very beginning of the blues in this set, with a nice variety of not just the heavy-duty guitar playing, singing blues guys, but all of the aspects of that. And so this is a great 4 CD set, highly recommended. And of course, all of these sets come with information. I didn't show that in any of the other sets. Here's the book that comes with it. So you get a real history of the blues in the Smithsonian Collection of Classic Blues Singers, not the distorted one, which is mostly what's been presented over the years. So I hope didn't make anybody too upset with this, but I just wanted to clear the record a little bit. Getting ready to take a little camping trip to Missouri. Be gone for a couple weeks, so see y'all when I get back. And I say, keep 'em spinning, and see you all down the trail.
Happy trails to you until